What is up, gamers? Welcome back to another episode of Get Game Smart. I am Steve, and today we're going to be talking about stuff that I would say is teamfight tactics adjacent. So this is not one of my in-depth guides. I will be returning with those shortly, but I admittedly have taken, I wouldn't say a short break from the game, but I'm just not in love with the state of the game following the most recent patch. It's summertime here in Canada as well, so I have been making the most of the short season and getting outside. And it seems like Mort Dog, Riot's lead developer, was on the same page because he was actually on vacation, which is what led to patch 11.11b being released in its current state, which I think just kind of like did a lot of negative things with the game. Like it really like reduced the balance of the game. It reduced like viability of a ton of compositions. And it just swung the power too far in the favor of some specific compositions. I'm looking at you, Abomination. That being said, I'm sure the next patch will be great, and yeah, regular guides will return shortly, but I did want to continue to make some content and talk about a few things that I think are important. The first being a huge congratulations to a member of our Get Game Smart community who climbed an entire tier in just a 2-day period, which is absolutely incredible. So this is somebody that reached out to me following the 11.11b patch, and they basically told me that they were like hard stuck, that they're feeling like they're really hitting a mid-season plateau. I had to reassure them that they were in fact not hard stuck. It's early on in the season. They're just soft stuck. So I ended up giving them a few pointers basically, and then sent them on their way, and they went on, get this guys, they went on a 10-game win streak. So I'm not saying they won every game, but 10 games of top fouring consistently, with an average placement of 1.7. So they were basically winning every other game. It was absolutely nutty. And they did all of this using just one composition and following just one guide with a few caveats or changes that I've made to the guide basically since the patch data had changed. So a couple things we're going to be going over in this guide is what recommendations did I tell this guy, and why is it super important to basically one trick or main a composition. So hope you guys enjoyed this TFT adjacent content, and yeah, let me know down in the comments if you enjoyed it and you want to see more of this type of stuff in the future, or if you're really just here for the guides. I won't be offended by either. I'm just genuinely curious, so let me know down in the comments below. Thanks. So before I give away what one hot tip got this guy from gold to high platinum, I want to talk about why it's actually important to one trick something, or basically why it's important to have a main in things if you want to see results immediately. If you want to climb immediately, it is important to one trick basically. And why do I think that this is true? Well, up on the screen behind you, I've just got basically my triangle of how to perform at anything, how to get good at anything. If you want to do well, these are the 3 things that you kind of have to have. And I mean, depending on the type of event or circumstance it is, what you want to perform at, these 3 things might be in a different order. But in a game like TFT or a game like chess, where it is more about like a cerebral decision making versus a fast twitch reaction or physical performance, then I think that it's most accurate to have subject knowledge at the base, which is the most important, followed by like a mental mastery. Some people might call it focus or discipline or flow state, but it all really means the same thing. It's about that being locked in and focused on a goal. And then the third element, and the smallest contributing factor to your success, I believe, in a game like Teamfight Tactics, is your mechanical mastery. So this would be like hitting your roll downs or making your transitions or repositioning or even scouting, all within the time constraints of in between the rounds. So in a game like Teamfight Tactics, subject knowledge is by far the biggest contributing factor to your success. Your ability to run the meta compositions, to know which units fit into each composition, to know which items to build on your carries, is by far the biggest differentiating factor between whether or not you're going to bot 4 or top 4, right? It's like that's why we play the game. well, some of us. But it's definitely why we come to Get Game Smart videos, because I am usually trying to prepare you guys with all of the subject knowledge so you guys can go out and absolutely smash your games. And the reason that it is important to one-trick something is basically it's really difficult to have a complete understanding of all of the different compositions out there. I mean, there's like 10 or 12 different comps that you can run. Heck, there's way more. If you think of any combination of units as a composition, then there's like almost infinite numbers, right? So it's really important to basically narrow our focus onto 1, 2, 3 compositions so that we can get to know the ins and outs of those, so that we don't have to cloud our brain up with thinking about it, basically. So rather than thinking about, does this unit fit in this composition? What are my best in slot items again? Which of these do I want to choose from the armory or carousel? All of these like micro decisions that we're making in teamfight tactics, I mean, we can really reduce the pressure and the stress that they have on our brain during the game if we are playing something that we're comfortable with, right? If we're playing something we know how to play. And at that point, we can focus on staying locked in, staying on our goal, basically, and having this mental mastery of like knowing where we're going and being like locked in and in a flow state to get there. And this allows us to focus on like the mechanical elements and the deeper understanding of the game. So just like anecdotally, I was talking to the subscriber that went on this big win streak, and I was asking him about his wins, and he started telling me these things. He was like, oh, it was really good, it was really easy, I was just forcing Yasuo. I felt like I could always get the items I needed because he knew what items he needed, but also because he knew what items would kind of work for him in the event that he didn't get the items he needed. And then he went on to say things like, oh, I was really focused on positioning, and I did X and Y to avoid Zephyrs. And I was also focusing on scouting, and in one game I realized that I was heavily contested, so I went for a fast 8 and used my Nikos to get a 2-star Yasuo, an early 2-star Yasuo, in order to preserve health. So this guy, because he was no longer kind of stressed out about thinking, what comp am I running? What units fit into that? What items do I need for that? All of a sudden, this guy completely elevated his level of play. He was able to stay focused because he was winning, and then he was able to focus on the actual like mechanical elements of TFT, like the micro stuff that is like high level play, all because he didn't have to think about what units fit into his comp. So yeah, again, this just goes to like highlight and show you why it's so important to narrow your variance. And this is why a lot of like chess players, for example, especially when they're learning the game, they're really focused on the openers. And this is great because basically these openers are supposed to limit the variance of different positions they're going to be exposed to, which means they're never going to be taken, or they're less likely to be taken by surprise and be exploited. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little TFT adjacent like mindset talk, I guess. But this stuff is like really interests me, and I hope it interests you. Definitely let me know down in the comments if this is more you want to see more of, or if you're just here for the guides. All right, without further ado, let's get into the meat and potatoes of why you guys are actually here, and the advice specific to TFT that I actually gave him. So when he came talking to me saying, hey, I'm hard stuck, what do I do? I basically told him I feel like 3-cost carries are in a pretty good position right now. Specifically, I think Yasuo is pretty strong, so I actually pointed him towards my old Yasuo Nightbringer carry comp that I put out a few weeks ago. And I just made the few following changes, basically. So basically, because of the changes to roll probability that happened in 11.11, I suggested that it's better to actually roll at level 7 versus in the guide I recommend to roll at level 8. And other than that, your ideal board will look something like this at level 7. This is a bit high roll, but in an ideal world, at level 7, you would have 4 Nightbringer, 4 Dragon Slayer, and 3 Skirmishers. This is a super, super stable board in order allowing you to slow roll at level 7. And the only real positioning tip that I wanted to highlight outside of the info in my previous guide is that Lee Sin's a really great anti-assassin, so you can place him behind your Yasuo for really good results. And that about wraps up today's video, guys. It was a little bit different than the usual, so do let me know down in the comments below what you thought about it. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe. It's free, and you can always change your mind. One thing I will say is that thus far on the Get Game Smart channel, we've been quite focused on exploring the meta and understanding that subject knowledge that is by far the most important aspect to succeeding in teamfight tactics. But I'm genuinely curious whether you guys want to hear me talk or explore a little bit more about the other things that I talked about, that's being like the mental mastery as well as the mechanical mastery as well as it relates to the game and beyond. Anyways, hope you enjoyed today's video, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.